What is going on, everybody? So this is this ooh, that was disgusting.
Sorry.
Restart.
Um, so I knew Derek was going to talk to Chris, but it wasn't until this morning that I saw that AJ Kelly guy posted that you and Chris made it official. I didn't even know that. However, people don't know that I asked you before Christmas to come onto the podcast today. So we had already had this scheduled. So it just lined up that it's pretty crazy. So usually I go into things with Nick and there's things I want to ask him because there's a couple of things that he posted today on Instagram that I need to talk about, beginning with 302 pounds. But before we get there, I don't know, and I'm not taking credit. I don't know if I was the first person to reach out to you about Chris, but I know after I saw the Hani thing, you and I had a very long conversation about what I thought and whether my opinion mattered or not. I told you that Chris is a phenomenal guy, and I spoke to you about what I thought about your physique, as I always have. Anybody that knows you and mine relationship knows that I've called you on multiple occasions. And even when you won the Olympia, I said, I don't think you're at your best. And we actually had not a heated argument, but we did go back and forth a little bit. And, and I said, I think you have no business in the 212. And I stood by that for years. And as annoyed as you probably were at me at the time, I think now you maybe understood what I saw very early on with your physique, because I thought you're one of the most impressive bodybuilders I had seen in a very long time at that age. Probably the only other youngest guy that ever impressed me as much as you is Nick. And that's the God's honest truth. You two are the youngest guys that impress me more than any bodybuilder that hit the IFBB stage as fast as you guys. So, give us some background, because I know first of all, why don't you talk about what it was like in the beginning, because I know it took you a while to break who you were with to go with Hani, and that kind of took a while to get you out of that quicksand of being with somebody. And I think you were just nervous, but go into how that happened in Hani, and then how you kind of came to terms with, bringing Chris on, and Chris can intervene as he wants. He's like me, he interrupts whenever.
Well, since you work with Chris, you probably know this. As soon as you reach out to him, he sends you an NDA contract that you can't say anything until he allows you to say it. So no, I'm kidding. I'm playing. No, actually, it was right after the Olympia that Hani and I was talking about both of our futures, and he said, he just told me straight up that he wanted to retire and spend more time with his family. And he just turned 50 a couple days ago. And so look, someone in my position, it's like, I'm a family man too, so I understand and I get it, so I totally respect that decision. But also I'm like, where does that leave me? And there was always this kind of lingering thought in the back of my mind, considering I train with Matt Grego, who works with Chris, and I know you've worked with Chris. I know Jay Cullen.
He's a freak show, by the way. Matt is a freak.
Oh,
Shout
bro,
out to
that
Matt.
guy,
put on
he's
20
on a
pounds in a
mission.
year. Freak.
He is on a mission, I promise you that. And so I'm really excited to see what he brings this year. But anyway, I always had this lingering thought in the back of my mind, what would it be like to work with Chris Aceto? And I never thought that would ever happen because, I'm very loyal, and I thought that me and Hani were going to stick it out till the end of my career, and that was just what it was going to be. And everything just kind of played out how it was supposed to. He retired, and that kind of gave me the opportunity to go, okay, now where am I going to go from here? And I'm not going to say that there wasn't some consideration of other people, because I didn't even know if Chris wanted to work with me. He's got some exceptional athletes, and he's worked with arguably some of the greatest of all time.
Can I ask a quick question? Do you think it was easier that Hani retired in order to move on? Do you think let's say Hani stayed?
For sure that was easier.
Well, I'm saying, let's say Hani stayed and you didn't do as well. Is that would you have dreaded that conversation? To move on? So was it a little more easing that you know what, it sucks that he's gone, but now I can try something different without the stress of possibly maybe ruining a friendship or a relationship?
Here's the thing. I understand that you don't nail it 100% every time. So I get that. If you actually think about it, how many times did these multi-time Mr. Olympia champions actually nail it? I mean, really nail it. Probably just a couple of times, even though they might have had 8 titles, right? So I understand that you don't always nail a peak every single time. So you can't just say, well, all right, I'm jumping ship and going somewhere else. It's more about like, does that person like have my best interest in mind? Are they really like tentative to my needs and like not just like holding my hand, but are they really there like paying attention and care about my success and me being my best? And if I feel like that person is knowledgeable and is there for me, then yeah, let's stick it out, let's keep going, and let's just keep improving and build on what we've learned this far. So if we nailed it one time, great, let's keep going and learn from that. If we didn't nail it, okay, let's learn from the mistakes that we made and keep moving forward. So I don't know what would have happened if Hani didn't announce her retirement. I think likely we would still be working together. Like I said, I'm very loyal, and I felt like we would always be working together. But yeah,
Fair enough.
it definitely made it easy to move on because I had to. And at that point,
Well, yeah.
my number one person in my mind was Chris. But, you know, like I said, I considered other people too, because I didn't know if Chris wanted to work with me. It was just kind of a conversation we were having at that time. And I gave myself a few weeks to just kind of chill and do my own thing. I went on a cruise with my family. And then
Smart
once I
move.
got back, that's when I was like, all right, are we doing this thing or what? And then he can tell you his kind of perspective.
So what, Chris, tell me like what like how it was when you guys finally agreed and it clicked. Like what was the determining factor that made you guys go, you know what? It's a good fit.
No, I think that when I spoke to him right after the Olympia, you know, I got a good feel, and I mean, I even if I didn't get a good feel for him as like a person or whatever, I probably would have still taken him on, you know.
Well, thanks.
You know, well, I mean,
Even if
you
you
know,
suck.
Yeah.
there's you know there's the strong Matt Grego connection, you know, because Matt talks highly of him, and I respect Matt, and you know, I talk to Matt all the time, like 2 years straight, like 5 days a week. So, you know, after the Olympia, when I spoke to him, I just there was I think the key there is Derek. You know me, Guy. I have bodybuilders' best interest. I don't put myself first, and I told Derek that I don't put myself first, and that's like a full stop. Period. Um, and that's probably the, you know, outside of like my track record. I mean, that's probably why I have the track record that I have. But I don't put myself first ever, and you know that. And for me, it's, you know, helping somebody is also, uh, it's not about winning. It's about being your absolute best, or trying to be your best. Um, and you know, it's I appreciate Derek's perspective that people at the Olympia who have won Olympias aren't at their peak at all the Olympias. You know what I mean? I mean, Flex Lewis was off on like 4 out of the 7 or 5 of the 7 Olympias. You know, Phil was off.
And when you say off, you mean
Off for him.
they look good. They just weren't their best.
Not at his best. You know, Jay's been off, Ronnie's been off, Phil's been off. You know, anyone who's won more than 3 has had shows where you just automatically go like, oh, he was better, way better 2 years ago, and I mean, it's just black and white. So, the goal is to be a best, and even that's hard because that's harder than winning sometimes, because you can win and not be your best.
Well, Nick's been through that. I mean, think you won twice and you got chastised for, oh, well, you're a little too flat. Now you're a little too big. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, Nick knows what that's like.
Yeah.
So what, Chris, what is something, because I have a lot of questions for Nick coming up. What is something that you look for in a client that either turns you on to wanting to work with them, or in the opposite, what is something that actually turns you off that goes, you know what? This ain't the right fit. Me and this guy ain't gonna vibe.
You Guy, you know me. Two things. I'm all about hard work. I'm all about hard work, and I'm all about hard work. And if I see that you're working harder, you will not get a better coach on the planet. And if I see that you're laxing, and I know when people are, it's just a bad date. You know, it can't continue.
Can you guys see what this says? The second one from the bottom,
No,
right here.
no.
Chris is laughing. It's from 2013. Chris sent this to me. I'm gonna read this. I saved it from 2013. Okay, I'm gonna see if I have the exact date. No, it just says
Damn, bro.
2013. It's
Like
saved.
12 years ago.
It's saved in my notes. 2013. It says Aceto's Rules of Bodybuilding. That's the title that I put. This is what he sent to me in regards to like me and my head and like questions and work. This is the summation of my contest prep. 1, don't worry. Number 2, see number 1. Number 3, work harder than you used to work or thought you could work. Number 4, be patient. Number 5, listen to your body. 6, with regards to 5, confirm it with someone, in parentheses, me, else, because your mind often throws its own 2 cents in charading as your body. I don't know what word that means.
Charading, yeah.
Charading. Oh, charading as your body. It's spelled wrong. And I every time I questioned something or thought I didn't look good, I would go back and read this and I would stop worrying. But number 1 is don't worry. Number 2 is see number 1. And that's just Chris. And I think I told you on the phone, Derek, that when me and Chris, when we won shows or took second, third, fourth, the sitting down and conversations that happened in the room never changed. It was, you won. Yeah, okay, you won. You took second. Could have been a little better. Could have been a little harder.
And that is one thing that I have enjoyed about this relationship is it just feels very chill. And just like, here you go, do this. I know you're working. And I'm like, okay, get back to me tomorrow. Update, pictures, photos, whatever. I'm like,
now,
it's just very chill and easy, huh?
Now I'm gonna ask because I'm gonna ask Nick the same thing because Nick had a new coach. And do you guys like a coach? This is for obviously Nick and you, Derek, that is more on top of you and like up your ass, or do you like a coach that kind of tells you what to do and just kind of leans back and then just lets things flow as is?
I like option 2.
Okay, so you don't like somebody to be like rammed up your
Because
ass.
I know myself. I don't need someone up my ass. The work's gonna get done. I'm gonna listen to a T and probably work even harder than what you told me to do. So I don't need you up my ass. I just need you to sit back, tell me what to do, and watch it all go into motion.
Yeah. Now, what did you look? Because Nick, I never asked you this. When you got Derek, when you got Kyle as your coach.
Right.
Now, obviously, I know you knew Kyle, but
Yeah.
take Kyle and your friendship, being that he was in Jersey and you guys just trained together,
Right.
out of it. What is something that you look for? Because you were with Matt, and then you had that little stint with Dom, and then you went back to Matt, and now you're with Kyle. So what is something that you specifically look for in a coach that like stands out to you, that is something that like I need that from a coach, and if he doesn't have that, that isn't going to work?
It's exactly what Derek said about Chris. It's chill. I'm very high strung, so I don't need a coach that's also high strung. I need someone the complete opposite. So when I'm in peak week, whether I'm chill or not, they can level me back down to here.
Yeah.
And I have found, like, even when I worked with Dom, I love Dom. Dom, I think, is a genius. He's smart. He knows the ins and outs. We have a great relationship, but he was high strung. And I just knew, for me, that wasn't going to work. Regardless of how smart, whatever his techniques, if you're too high strung, you're going to cause me anxiety. It's not going to work. So for me, that was the one. And with Kyle resembled that fact that like with Matt had. Like when I talked, Kyle was just like, yeah, he's like, this is what we're going to do. You look good. This is good. And it's just just one low pitched tone. And I'm like, okay, we're good. Like, this is cool.
Now on that, obviously the scale doesn't mean somebody knows or doesn't know what they're doing, but in regards to, I obviously know how you look because when I see pictures that you send me here and there. So obviously it seems to be going good, seeing that you're 302 pounds this morning.
I'll say this: last time I was over 300 pounds. I took third at the Olympia. So I expect a good year this year.
Well, so you know what? Let's do this. Nick, what poses do you think you beat Derek on, and what poses do you think Derek?
Dang, how many minutes are we into this
you on?
podcast and you're already coming at us?
No, no, I know, like I want to know, no, because you know what? It's good because this is like looking at. Oh, hold on. It's like looking at a playbook for football. When I used to compete in bodybuilding, I would look at all the shots of Flex, all the shots of David Henry, and go, I got him in that shot. That shot's a toss up. I might have him depending upon. So for me, it like if I stood next to David Henry, Chris knows. If David Henry hit the hands class most muscular, I wouldn't hit that shot because there ain't nobody beating that motherfucker in that shot. I would hit a crab. If Jose did something with his side chest, I would do something different because my chest was thicker. So it's not about who's better, who's worse. It's just what shots. When I look at your physiques, I can say, well, I think Derek has Nick in this shot. I think Nick has Derek in this shot. And I think if, this happens, then maybe it could go this way. So I'm just wondering, like, when you guys break down physiques, because I think I would be ignorant and everybody out here would be stupid to say that you guys being, you won an Olympia, had an off year, but still looked phenomenal. Nick, Arnold Classic, New York Pro wins, like, you guys are at the top of the fucking totem pole in regards to who's next in line. So what shots would you rather not stand next? It's more like what shots would you not want to stand next against Nick? And what shots would you rather stand next to him on?
So do you want me to go first?
It doesn't matter.
The shots, I think Derek will beat me on. If we're both 100, like straight up.
Yeah,
100,
both 100% your all-time best.
I will always give him front double. I'll give him the back double. And I'll even give him the ab and thigh.
So you got side chest, side tricep, back lat.
No shit talking. I rock his world in the side shots. I rock his world.
I love it, bro. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Most muscular, most muscular is not even a competition.
Most muscular I give you. I think you both are very impressive from the side. I'd have to pull up side shots, which I won't do right now. Derek, the shots he agreed that you beat him. Yeah. Do you see those any differently? Because there's 7. He gave you 3 out of 7, 3 out of 8, whatever.
Hey, I thought it was generous that he gave me those 3, man, because I thought Nick was going to be like, he doesn't beat me in any shot, bro.
No, listen,
about?
Well, I'm gonna be realistic here. You know what I mean?
Because I'm asking Derek, because then I'm gonna ask Chris, because that's gonna be the tiebreaker. I'm staying out of this one.
Okay, let's start with the beginning. We got the front double. I would agree that I take that one.
Yeah.
I actually, now that I've made some improvements, I think Chris would also agree, or maybe disagree. I think he would agree that my front lat spread has improved a lot. So I think I take that one now. Going to the side, he does have a crazy side chest. However, I think that my balance and the improvements that I've made on my chest and the conditioning.
Let's call it like this. Let's call it not what it's going to be, your best as of yet. Let's take your Mr. Olympia best. And
I still think that my Mr. Olympia side chest takes it. And you can make that argument, but side tricep,
I think I would give you the side try. I would give Nick the side chest. That's if I was.
We'll just like leave that one as back double and rear lat spread. I think are my money shots. So I think those. Now last year's ab thigh at the Olympia was not my best. I changed up my posing and I didn't like it, but I think Chris can also agree that my ab thigh has changed drastically.
Well, he agrees. Well, Nick gave you abs and thigh.
Yeah. Most muscular, Nick has a pretty crazy most muscular.
Yeah, don't even debate that one, bro. Let's
most muscular, he doesn't stand a chance.
Chris, what do you from these two at their best, pose for pose? And nobody gets fucking upset here, so we're all on the same page.
I love messing with Nick. I love when we went out to AR. We just jaw jacking back and forth. I love it, bro. I love it.
That's what we do.
It's the people that can't do that or can't take it that are the problem.
I know a few.
I know a lot, a whole lot.
I know a few.
What do you?
I know.
So,
I know what.
Chris, you're.
Derek knows exactly
No,
where
I
I'm
know.
going with that one.
I hear you.
Well, I think I do based on our conversations that we've had about
Yeah.
a couple events. Chris, if you're at the,
I know a guy.
I got a guy. Chris, you're the head judge, shot for shot, both of them at their best. The best version of each one of them you've seen.
Well,
Pretend like you're not coaching Derek.
no,
Yeah, but they don't be biased.
Ears on what shots? The side shots?
Just give me what
All
you
of
think,
them.
like front double, front lat, side try, side chest.
I'd give the front shots to Derek. I'll give the side.
I can pull up pictures if you want. I just
was
not. I wasn't going to do that.
I'm trying to figure out like side try what I like about each because Nick's more powerful from the side. So I'd give Nick the side chest in the past. There's a little bit more flow. I hate that word. In Derek's side tricep in the past, but Nick's got a very powerful side tricep.
Yes.
It's hard, I'd have to see what I haven't seen them in the past is standing exactly next to each other. And if they have like me aware that Derek is standing next to Nick, it's different
Not
than
looking elsewhere.
It's different than like either in your head. The only time I can think of them on stage together was that Olympia where Derek won. Oh no, Hadi won.
Yeah, it was the year before.
Hadi won that one, yeah.
Derek was second and Nick was third.
Yeah.
And you even then there was not a lot of like comparisons like side by side because it was like I thought Nick was started off in that prejudging like as an afterthought sort of. You know what I mean? Like they lined him up for like fourth.
Yeah.
And
then they started moving them around like chess pieces.
But what you didn't see at that show was like a top 3 call out. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to compare what they look like in the past. And it's a little hard actually because the fact is that in each show Derek looks like himself and Nick can have a lot of different looks and they're all impressive looks.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, big look and I like, well, that's good. And then, there's like a more peeled look and I'm, well, that's more impressive than the big look. And then you think back, well, no, maybe the big look was better than the peeled look. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to.
They both.
I definitely brought several different looks to the stage.
Well, I mean, the thing is your body can look different ways, and that's a negative or it's probably a positive. Whereas other people have to be like monumentally consistent with themselves to be able to present a package that's winnable. Where technically, Nick, you could be. Oh, the heaviest you've ever been. Was he in his absolute best condition? No. Was it a great look? Yes. Or you could do it the other way and say, oh, he's peeled out of his mind. Was he big? The biggest he's ever been? No. Was it a good look? Yes. So they're both good looks. Where if like Derek came in peeled out of his mind, you'd be like, oh God, he got small. Or if he came in gigantic, you'd say like, oh, it didn't work for his physique.
Yeah.
The thing that impressed me most about Nick is that early on in his career, he was so big and he talked about making improvements. And you're like, how can somebody like that make any fucking improvements? He's huge. And he's made drastic in some years improvements, which I think is incredible for somebody of that size because, he brought down his waist. He made his lines better, his waist smaller, got his legs bigger. Like I always thought when he first came onto the scene, we weren't as close and he was talking about making all these changes. And I was like, change. This guy's a fucking mutant. He's not changing shit. He can't gain any muscle.
I'm Nick Talker now, bro. You forget?
Oh my God, dude.
I'm Nick Talker now.
So stupid that people still fucking say that. It's like ridiculous. So Derek, what is truly, obviously there's always different styles, but what is something that stands out if you could put your finger on it that really stands out between the differences between Hani and Chris. Like throughout my career, I worked with Palumbo originally. Then I went to Factory Mubarak for a while. I was with Neil Hill very shortly, and then I was with Chris the remainder of my career from 2013 till I retired. And I can tell you something about each coach.
Funny guy.
Chris, see, Derek, you had it easy. You won an Olympia, so Chris didn't need to be fucking called more than once to work with you. He told me no. I had to annoy him the way I annoy everybody when I need something done. I remember calling him and walking out of a diner, having fucking dinner with Rich Gaspari and somebody else because Chris was like, call me on this day. So I was like, all right. So I called him, and I remember pacing back and forth in the diner, and I was like, this was the second or third time I talked to him, and he was like, because he originally told me to call him after New Year, so I called him on like January 1st at like 12:01 a.m. Like it was like I like what he's laughing because he knows I'm dead right. And I called him that January, and I remember being in the diner talking. He was like, "All right," because Chris's thing was he had a lot of guys in 212, and he didn't want to clash people together because he didn't want people doing shows, and he didn't want to like people going against each other. And his concern back then wasn't Derek Lunsford, wasn't Jose, it was Eduardo. I have Eduardo. So he was like, what show do you want to do? And I was like, I was thinking about doing the Wings of Strength in Chicago. He's like, all right. He goes, I'm in. I said, okay. But he made it seem like if I won, he was unsure if he was going to help me because he had other guys in the Olympia. So I was like, well, what happens after if I win? He's like, just don't worry about it. And I go, well, if I win and I go to the Olympia, like, are you going to coach me? He's like, just don't worry about it. We'll figure it out when the time comes. And that was the conversation we had. And then
that's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to worry about it, bro. I need to know.
Rule number 1 and 2, what was it?
Oh, yeah. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you say it, is one of my last win, he pulled a fast one on me. He fucking lied to me. So I did California. And
look at he's dying, bro.
I pride myself on not even white lies. I don't lie. I do not lie.
You did.
I don't tell white lies and small lies, and I lied.
He did. So I'm in California, and I bombed California. We tried doing no diuretic, vodka, like coffee, and I was just sweating like a hooker in church. It was horrible.
Oh man.
So that night he goes, all right, I got it. And I said, you got what? He's like, I figured it out. And I was like, all right. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? There's one show left. I go, it's in 6 days. He's like, all right, where is it? I said, it's in Canada, Niagara Falls. He's like, all right, you're doing it. I said, are you sure, dude? He's like, yes, positive. I said,
I never know what shows to do, but go ahead.
Yeah, never. He never picked shows. And I go, verbatim, Chris, I am not coming to the show if you are not there. I said, I'm not doing this again. Because it was like towards the end of my career, and I was like, I want you there. I never asked you to be there. Like, I'm not doing this if you. He's like, I'll be there. Okay. So I get home on fucking Monday from Cali. I fly out Wednesday to Canada, and pre-judging's Friday night. So fucking Thursday or Friday. It's Thursday night. I'm like,
no.
Hey, Chris, where the fuck are you? He's like, I'm not coming. I just told you that. So I'm sitting in my hotel room, and I'm like, you motherfucker, dude.
Bro, now you got me worried. What if he just
But he did that because he goes, and he's right. He goes, I figured it out, and you didn't need me there. So, and he was right. He figured it out, and I didn't need him there, and I won. That was the only time he did lie to me.
That's funny.
But that's a lie for a good reason.
Yeah.
Because he knew that if he told me, in his head, he's like, you're going to win. I know it because I figured it out. But he's like, I know you're really not. Like, I wouldn't have went. If he told me I can't go, my ass would have stayed home.
It was a loophole in the truth.
How many
He
was gonna go, but he decided it was better that he didn't.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I think Guy needs this mental test.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I just want to say this, because the first impression of Nick,
Here we go. Oh,
Nick and Derek. Nick, who I've only said great things about, I think, mostly.
I think.
the only negative thing you said is his mom is the
Here-
craziest bodybuilding fan.
Yeah.
And
Here he
loudest.
goes lying again, Nick. Look,
Yeah.
here he goes lying
Well,
again.
he's certainly lying. He used to talk all shit on me in my early days.
When Nick won whatever he did to like get his pro card, or like he was like second 1 year, and someone says, "What do you think of Nick Walker?" I mean, I just like nothing. And then when he won his pro card, they go, "What do you think of like Nick Walker?" Nothing. And then he like wait, and then he went to Chicago.
Yeah.
I remember because I was helping Eddie Bracamontes for the show.
Yeah.
And in prejudging, I go nothing. I swear, guy, at the night show, I'm like, wow, this kid's really good.
Why at the night show? He just got fuller?
4 hours between the prejudging and the finals. And
Wow.
then, he's been on a steep incline since. And then with regards to Derek, Sergio went down to Tampa to train.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sergio got second at the Chicago, and I was coaching him, and he went out and ate and this and that for like 10 days. And I'm like, listen, you got to do like a show. You can't like shut it down. So it's like Tampa, was coming up. So he crash dieted there, and he'd send me pictures, and he was getting ready for a men's open show, and he would send me pose for pose pictures of Derek, and I did not know who Derek was.
Dang.
So I go to Sergio, who, like, I'm looking at the guy who I'm like, God, if this guy does the Open Tampa, he's going to win it in 2 weeks. And Sergio's doing it, in 2 weeks. And I said, who's the guy doing the posing with? And he's like, Derek. So he said,
Derek who?
Yeah, no, 2 days later, I asked him again. I'm like, who's the guy? I didn't know why Sergio was sending me pictures of both of them, back double together, side chest, side tricep. And the side chest and side tricep looked better than Nick Walker's at that.
Oh, dang, bro. Put that on record.
At that point. At that point.
I go like this.
Many years ago.
I go, who's the guy? He goes, well, just Derek Lunsford, the future of bodybuilding.
Dang.
The way he said it, it was just like, oh, it's just
there was a time I wasn't too fond of Chris, actually, and I haven't told him this, I don't think yet.
Oh, that makes two of us. I'll let you actually go first.
So you remember our relationship back in the early days, guy, right? I was a different guy at the time, a young kid coming up, and I was excited, and
you were just very fucking hard-headed, and like,
yeah,
I feel like you thought, I think it took you a while to realize that the guys older than you weren't trying to sabotage you, they were trying to help you.
Yeah.
And I think early on, you took some of the criticism as like us chastising you. When like, I know every time I've called you, even if I was like, you were driving me fucking nuts, I called you because I was only trying to help you. Everything I've ever said.
No, you was.
I think
you just remember that kid.
Oh yeah.
On the come up, okay?
Oh yeah.
So after 2018, when Flex Lewis retired, right? I'm like, hey, I'm the guy. I'm basically the champion already, man. That's my mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I had to go back and win. Well, who won in 2019?
Not you.
Not me. It was Kamal working with Chris Aceto. And I remember that show devastated me more than probably, I don't want to say any other show, but it was a kick in the gut. And I remember watching the wrap up with Chris and Kamal. And I think I don't know if it was Dave Palumbo or who it was, but somebody was like, what did you think about the show? And Chris was like, not even close. And I was like, F this guy, man. No way. I'm like, I don't like this guy. No more. No way. I was so pissed, man.
I
I'm not
can
gonna
see
lie.
Derek saying that too.
Oh, I was so upset. I was like,
Fuck this guy.
kick me while I'm down. Thanks, Chris.
Derek's.
But he goes, not even close. I didn't even think it was close.
So I hold on, Chris. Bite your tongue because you already know what I'm about to fucking say. So you go hold your tongue. 2011, I won my first fucking pro show in Dallas, right? And Chris was working this guy. His name was Fernando. He like some of these like Brazilians have like 5 last names. What was his name? Fernando.
Well, Maradona then has like 5 other names.
Yeah. Okay. So this guy, he took second. So after I just had taken second in Jacksonville the week before, and this was my first pro win. I'm watching the wrap up. It's fucking Sean Ray, Palumbo, and Aceto. And they go, well, Chris, what do you think about the 212? You had one of your client, Fernando, ended up taking second behind Guy Cisternino, got his first pro win. And Chris is like, yeah. Well, when I don't know how your client beats the other guy in all the shots and he loses, but somehow he did. But I mean, congrats to Guy. I was like, fuck, who the fuck is this guy?
That's how I felt, bro. That's how I felt too.
I was like, geez, I can't even win a show. This motherfucker's saying, he's like, yeah, when the client, he's like, I don't know how he got second when he beat him in every shot besides maybe 1 or 2.
Guy, true story. I think I've told this one before, and I don't want to bore people, but Ron Partlow sends me a picture of Derek getting ready for because 18 was Kamal's first Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, who was 1, 2, 3 there? It was first.
2018.
Oh, okay, Derek, you were second.
Yeah, I was second.
Okay, so Kamal was third. And I did not like at the prejudging that they called top 3. But if you remember, Derek, they put Flex in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
They did the same thing when Eduardo should have won. Eduardo should have won Flex's first win, my opinion. I mean, and there's more than one win that Eduardo should have won. But at that 212 prejudging, more so than Derek when you were second in 18, they lined him up, Flex in the middle, Kamal 9 feet away on one side, and Derek 9 feet away on the other. So when I say, I can't remember a show really when, Lunsford was standing directly next to Nick Walker. I don't remember that show like comparisons because they were so spread apart. But the next year, so Derek ends up second, Kamal third. The next year, Ron Partlow sends me a picture of Derek guest posing 6 weeks out. Mm-hmm. And I look at it. I swear, in 2 seconds, he goes, what do you think? Because I had sent him pictures of Kamal. I said, oh, Kamal's going to win. He says, you're so biased. I said, oh, no. Today, if the show's today, Kamal will get destroyed. I said, just what's his weight? And whatever he told me Derek's weight was, I said, oh, good. By the time he comes down, he's not going to look all blown up like that. So
yeah, every time. And that's why I was like, I got to get this 212 win and get out of here.
Yeah. So by the time he did come down to 212 and get the win, if you actually watch the wrap up, I remember specifically that year, I said, yeah, it looks great, just wrong division, just not the division. I said that like emphatically in...
We talked about that numerous times, Chris.
18. I said that in 18 when he got second. I said, Kamal won because, or 19, I said, Derek is competing in the wrong division. It's just your body can't get to where you want it to go when it just...
You restrict it.
Yeah, that's what I felt. That's what I felt the whole time. And I always wanted to go open. And then I remember immediately after I won the 212, I went to Hani. I was like, so open? And he goes, no way. We're going to defend the title. And I was like, okay. I'm like, all right. And then we did the guest posing and I was like, all right, open. And he goes, don't buy into the hype. And I was like, oh my gosh, bro. And Nick and Kamal kept saying, there's no way you're doing 212. I go, no, I'm doing the 212. I'm pretty sure. I go, I want to go open, but I don't think I'm going to go open. And then things played out the way they did. But yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, I look great at like 230 pounds. And then when I would come down to 212, I looked like a shell of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, 212 was not for you.
What did you weigh when you won the O in 23?
23, somewhere around 230,
It's great. And
more or
Nick,
less.
Nick, you're right around 260s normally, right? Right, hovering around.
Not in that Olympia, I think I was on the 250 mark.
Yeah, that's that would have been. That is something that, and I obviously, Nick, I'm not trying to fucking say, but I wish I would have got to see that comparison that year, because I saw what Nick looked like in his hotel room, Derek, and it was the best version of Nick I had seen ever, and I never
Yeah,
got
he
to
was
see
rock.
that on
He was
stage.
rocked out, man. He was
Yeah, he
rocked
looked
out for
crazy,
sure.
and I knew how peeled he was. I knew he was
Yeah,
peeled when I saw him, and
yeah.
I saw him hit a couple shots, but it wasn't until like 3 weeks after, just by the fact that I knew he was eating a lot and his body wasn't gaining a pound, I was like, just that alone tells me how fucking peeled he was. If he's
Yeah.
fucking body's
Oh, I
just
was
burning all
like,
those calories like that.
I was skinless, bro. Like for 2023 before I got hurt, like it was wild.
Yeah.
And like at the time, because like Matt, when I would text Matt when we were like 5, 6 days out, I'm like, bro, my hamstring, I don't know how this is gonna work. And he's like, nah, you're fine. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, I don't think I'm fine on this one. And every day it was just like a slow decline. Every day that kept coming. And honestly, I didn't want to go, but he was like, bro, we'll fix it. I promise you'll be fine. And I'm like,
He's just trying to keep that like mindset fucking.
but like, and again, I say this because people forget, like, I tore my calf. I didn't give a
I,
shit about the hamstring. I was so confident with the look that I have. If my calf didn't hinder me, I would have walked on that stage with a puffed up hamstring, and I would have said, "I'm still top three. No one, I'm still going to be
yeah.
top three, even with this fucked up hamstring." But with the calf, I couldn't kick it back because I couldn't stand on it. I couldn't flex the hamstring and squeeze my ass for a back double or a back lat. So I'm like, I just lost those two poses. Done right then and there.
His calf, Derek, felt like you pushed
There
on
was a
his calf.
quarter in it.
It was like you pushing on a wall. It was rock solid.
Ah,
Yeah, like there was
And
like
then
he didn't give it all.
well, I remember, I think it was Monday. Um, yeah, it was Monday. We went to Kissing Me Muscle to train, me and Matt. And we went through like a full kind of like upper body thing, and we went in the back to pose. And I kept my pants on, and obviously, but even when I posed like for the top body, Matt just looked like he wanted to like cry, like because he was just like,
I
"Fuck."
do remember seeing that. I think that was the photo you posted, right?
I posted a few
Posted.
of them. Yeah,
I was like, dang, that looks pretty crazy. I ain't gonna lie.
Matt like wanted to just cry, and and we were all just looking at each other. It was just like everyone's around us, like, oh my god, and it was like me and Matt were just like,
Yeah,
I want to go now. Like I just want to leave.
dang.
Yeah, because you're like excited, but you can't be, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
and then Tuesday night, I go to get work done on it, and after we were done, the guy that was helping me was like, "Can you try and hit a back double?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll try." And when I went to try, like my foot just gave out, like I just couldn't do it. And then he was just like, "Sit down." I said, "Okay." And his name's Marlon, and he looked at me and was like, "You're not gonna make it, bro." Like. And it's like it's kind of something we already knew, right? But like when you finally hear it being confirmed, it's like,
Dang.
fuck, man, you know?
yeah, that's crazy.
Dang, man.
You never, Derek, you never had knock on wood, pull out of a show for any reason so far, right, in your career?
I've never had to pull out. No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I haven't had some things come up.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah.
What for you being a guy that was in the 212 Olympia and now obviously having a Mr. Olympia under your belt, for guys that are wondering maybe or considering maybe making the transition at some point from 212 to open, and I wonder myself too, 'cause I've done open shows, but is it that big of a difference going from a 212 to an open show as far to does your mentality, the
Fuck
emotions,
yeah.
butterfly, does it change at all when you're open versus
Well,
212 or
you
It's a
gotta
body
lot
versus
less
understand.
bodybuilding?
restricted, that's for sure.
Well, you gotta
No, I'm just
understand.
talking about like the mentality, like not the restriction of the
Oh,
weight, but like the mentality backstage like being on the Mr. Olympia stage, not like really going for like the 212 Mr. Olympia, because people will say, well, that's not the real Mr. Olympia title, it's the open. So like you were doing what like bodybuilding is known for, right? Standing on the biggest stage for the
Yeah.
biggest trophy. So did the perspective in that change in regards to that versus 212?
It got me more excited because I was standing on the open stage. Um, for me, I'll be fully transparent. I don't think this is like the same thing for everybody. I was so honed in on just knowing that not having a weight cap, I was going to be better. And I already felt like my 212 look was very good, that I could have stood next to a lot of the open guys and done very well. That if I just had like 10 more pounds, even that I was gonna just come in and really, you know, stir some problems for some people, you know. Where would I where would I land in terms of like the Olympia and all that stuff? My thought was, man, if I can crack the top 3, that'd be incredible. But I really want to be in that first call out. You know, I was like, third place is in my mind is where I want to be, like top 3, you know. Getting second was just like unbelievable, you know, because I really thought Rami was going to repeat. I thought Hadi would probably get second, and then that would put me maybe at third. And considering if I was at my best and everybody, you know what I mean, I just thought that's kind of where I would line up. Rami slid back, Hadi won, I was second, so I was kind of right in my way of thinking to some degree. So I just kind of stayed in that like one track mind of like, I'm gonna be better and it's gonna be dangerous for these other guys on the stage. But if I were to look around backstage, I do remember looking around going, these guys are big. These guys are gigantic, as a matter of fact. Like this is this is another level. But also, like, you know, Guy, like all the divisions are backstage together. So I had seen the Phil Heath, the God rest his soul, Sean Roden when he won backstage. Like I seen all these guys, like Rami, all the time. Even Rolly was a freak backstage. So I remember seeing these guys, and I just had to keep that mindset of like, this is me presenting my physique on stage, and I think that my God-given genetics and what I can build with that is going to be very competitive. Because like backstage is one thing, under the lights is a completely different
100%.
thing. So that was just like my mindset going from 212 to open. And I really felt like I had nothing to lose, to be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, you didn't.
Because everybody was like, oh, he's a 212er, he's a 212er. And then it was like, oh, he's not a 212er anymore, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely proved that. Nick, for you, being that you're one of the bigger, I mean, you're one of the biggest guys in bodybuilding as far as muscularity and just muscle on top of muscle. Do you ever look at anybody and go, damn, that motherfucker's big? Or are you kind of like, I'm one of the biggest motherfuckers here, and they you know, they're not going to outmuscle me?
I always thought that way until you see Andrew jacked in person.
Cute. It's like a house.
And he was probably one of the first people I was like, damn, that's a big boy. Like that looks like an action figure that just doesn't move, you know?
You never saw Ronnie like
In
back in his
person,
prime?
honestly, no. I will say at his prime, I never got to see him in person when he was at his
His
biggest.
biggest. Chris, who is the biggest bodybuilder that you ever saw and went like hands down, that is the freakiest guy I've ever seen? Like biggest.
That would be Rami in around, without a doubt, 14 and 15-ish.
Yeah.
Bigger than seeing like
God,
I mean, Chris, you worked with them all.
Dave, Guy, 15, he was young,
Yeah.
he was big. You know, he was just in a good groove, like at a good age. His body was maturing. It was just laughable beyond laughable.
And you say that being somebody that saw Ronnie and those other guys.
Yeah, I mean, I saw
Paul.
I always say I've told Dave the story. I called
Paul.
No, 98. I mean, Dillette came, stayed at my house for 6 weeks before he won the North Americas. He was one that I told him I was baffled with Dillette because I thought Dillette could be Mr. Olympia without a question. without a shadow of a doubt. 2000, I don't even know what year that was. It was like eons ago, but he was just remarkable. He was probably the best physique that I've craziest that I've seen. But in terms of just total size, Ramy 2015 came to my room at the Arnold and posed, and I didn't really even know what I was looking at. Like, I didn't know if he was fat because there was just so much
The
to look
muscle.
at. Yeah, like the rolling pec stood on the side chest and the quad breath, you know.
His
Just,
legs were insane.
well, the width. You know what I mean? The width was.
Would you argue that some of his best looks were with you?
Well, of course, you know, I helped him 15, and I got crowded out 15. So, and then I came in 16, and you know, he came into the Olympia too flat. But you know, he was inside, outside, upside down, peeled for that show.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't the right look, but you know what the terrible thing was, Guy, is like after prejudging, he ate, and for the finals, you know, I mean, if you were at the show for the finals, he was next to Phil, and the crowd was just like baffled.
Yeah.
And then he went before, and he won. I went with him. You know, he beat
Everybody.
It was on the tour every show, really. But oh, and you know, he could rebound up like, you know,
Insanely.
oh God.
He could get to 330 in like a blink of an eye.
Well, the thing is, you know, anyone who, it's hard to help someone like that simply because there's a lot to him. And you know, his Olympia wins, those weren't his like
Best
looks. Like he was prime. Like 14 and 15 was a sight to behold. You know, even go dial it back to like 13 when
he won New York.
New York,
when he won New York, he had the midsection back then that was just small waist, cannonball delts. You know, he was the freakiest I think we've seen in years, which is a testament to say that, you know, and I'm not being critical, like when he won his Olympias, like if you go back to his first Olympia, he was bigger in his first Olympia than he was in his last Olympia.
Yeah.
You know, or his last win at the Olympia, you know, so he was just a freak.
Nick.
Yeah.
What do you think we talk about a Ramy, I mean, you too, Derek. We talk about Ramy with the end, and we got Samson, these guys that are 3+, 3+, 3+. Like, Derek, I don't know what the biggest you've ever been, but Nick, obviously you're already, you know, already pushing that. What do you think your true weight limit is, that like a weight that like, okay, like you don't need to be bigger than this. Like, I think for you, like if you ever got over 315, it's like there's no need to.
I think 300 would probably be a limit for me, because I feel I'm not gonna lie, I feel comfortable. Like I don't.
You're 302, right? Right on the dot.
Yeah, like I don't feel like shit. I don't feel sluggish. Like I'm still very energized at this weight,
And you're lean. Let's not forget, you're not fat.
No, I'm a lot leaner than what I was like last time you know, I got this heavy. But me being 5'7", you know, hitting 300, like that's not normal. No. That's big, right? But my body can handle it. That's the thing. My body, certain people can't handle going that high at my height. Obviously, you see my family, we're bigger people. Yeah. My body can handle a larger weight. But I don't think I would ever want to go above, you know, 300. I mean, I'm above now, but what I'm saying, I don't want to go too far above it.
Yeah.
You know, I think 305 at like max would have been, all right, I'm good, you know? Yeah. Because I every off season, you know how it works. You get leaner at the weight you were last off season. So I would love to like get to a 300 and be like fucking
solid.
Shit,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that'd be crazy. Well, we're gonna see what this 302 looks like in a couple of weeks, man. On when it's all peeled down and gnarly.
18 weeks, baby.
It's gonna go by fast, bro.
I know.
Fucking hold on tight for the ride, man.
Oh,
Derek, what was your heaviest you've ever been? Because I've never really asked you that, being that you're now like been an open guy.
I think my heaviest recorded like in the morning was like 262 or something. And I just there's all this chatter the last couple of years about height and weight and bodybuilding and stuff. And oh, Mr. 300 pounds. Everybody wants to be Mr. 300 pounds. Like I want to be Mr. Olympia, and I want to put it all together and bring the best physique to the stage with the crazy illusion, the crazy proportions, and the most complete and balanced look, right? So you have all the judging criteria and all the poses. That's all I'm thinking about. That's why I kind of said like going from 212 to open, it was like I could be backstage going, wow, these guys are big, or going, well, when we step out here under the lights, things are about to start popping. And so like that's what I'm saying. Like when I send Chris the updates, that's all I'm thinking is like, how can I like maximize my proportion and look the craziest and bring the most complete and balanced physique? So I mean, yeah, I think definitely size matters to some degree, but I think if it doesn't get put together right, then it doesn't matter. Or let's say it doesn't get conditioned. If you don't have the conditioning at that massive weight, it doesn't matter, man. Like, so for me, it's like I don't even think about the scale.
Yeah.
If I never get back up to 260, 265, 270, whatever, I don't care, man. As long as like I bring it to the stage. And that's the God honest truth, because there was a time where I was like looking at Nick, because when he would live here in Tampa, and I'm like, man, he's 300 pounds. Holy crap. We go to the movies together, and this guy's like, it looks like he's got sandbags on his arms, just freaking, you know what I mean? Just like
so big,
jiggling everywhere, man.
His bicep looks like a quad.
Yeah, man. So like don't get me wrong. Like
you got to play your game. You got to stay in your lane and play your game.
Exactly.
But that's the point, right? Derek has the more aesthetic look, where like if he was to push to my type of weight, he would ruin himself.
Yeah.
I also have the structure where like my body can handle it. And my best placing was when I was a freak factor.
Right.
And that's where like this year, I'm like, I got to stop trying to play everyone else's game and go back to playing mine on what got me to where I'm at. And that's being fucking huge.
Yep.
So that's what I got.
And what I was going to say, something that Derek said was, you are somebody that was big and literally recomped your entire body and physique and stayed super big while keeping your waist even smaller as you got bigger, which you got really ripped apart for early on with your waist being so wide and people going, there's no way that guy is going to have a smaller waist. It's impossible. He's not going to gain weight or muscle and bring down his waist. And you did.
I did.
Which is crazy. Derek, something I wanted to ask you, and this question might be a little loaded, because I thought very long and hard about this. And I'm going to give you my perspective. What do you think the reason is why maybe early on, even now, people have a view of you that they might say, I don't, he's a little too this or too cocky, or I don't know. And like we've had conversations. I feel like Derek's fake. And I'm going to say this. And I thought very long and hard. And Chris, I want you to be critical of what I'm about to say, because it might not come across right. And I think you get criticized a lot because of the constant God talk. And I'm going to say this. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a very God-fearing person. I go to church. I say my prayers. I was very involved in my Catholicism. I was Antioch retreat leader. I was very involved in the church when I was in high school. Now, if we look back in history, back then, the people that spoke up when they finally, I guess, had that moment where they accepted Christ and they believed of what it was in the book, and that I'm actually living for somebody that died, and like this moment where like it all comes to full circle, and they want to shout out from the rooftops that they believe what they read is truth. Now, just because you go to church like myself and say prayers I've never had that oh shit moment yet. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't believe because I wear the cross around my neck. I go to church. Of course I believe, but I've never had the moment where it hits me where I'm like, oh my God, like this is like this happened. This is real. Like, because there's friends that they've had that like moment where it just comes to life and they like, holy, like this is real. And that moment where that full belief, it hasn't happened. I'm 42, it hasn't happened yet, but I still believe. And I feel like the reason why you are the way you are from where I sit in the seat that I'm in is because I do feel that you found that. And when you do, you want to let everybody know.
Yes.
And when you let everybody know, you come across like the guy knocking on your door, wanting to talk to you about Jesus Christ or the Bible or your religion, whatever your religion is. But when you do it to the way you do it, I feel like it comes across to people that don't understand religion as overbearing and too much.
Yep.
And I feel like that's why you got the persona as fake. But I can look at you and go, he's not fake. He's maybe not doing it the way I would do it, but I envy him because I think he's doing it with conviction, and that's what people don't understand. So that's where I sit.
The whole time you've been talking, I've been praying because I'm really like, Father, give me the right words to say right now. This is a very, very important time that I say the right thing. So I'm just gonna do my best to let the Holy Spirit speak through me, man.
Well, just so you know, I had to make sure I said it the right way because I wanted it to be conveyed a certain way.
I don't know how that's at all a loaded question. I don't know how that's a bad question or how it could come off wrong.
Well, some people, when it comes to religion,
I get it. I understand that not everybody believes the same thing. So first of all, want to say I respect everybody in terms of that.
And hold on, and Nick, I'm going to want your answer because you went from not being super religious to going to church to watching, TV and stuff. And I'm not trying to push Christianity or a certain I want people to understand why Derek is the way he is. And I'm not saying I figured it out and you could say I did or I didn't, but from where I sat, that's how I feel as a man of Christ and who believes and sees what you do and how you act and how you talk. That's my perception of it. So
it's not about saying, hey, I go to church. Oh, I believe in Jesus. Oh, whatever. Like I'm better than everybody because I live a better life than no. Please don't think that at all. It 100% is like, hey, I believe that I found the truth. And I want to let you all know because there have been times of feelings that I felt the Holy Spirit. I'm like, this is as real as it gets. I know it. I can't like show you and prove it necessarily other than just my life and how I walk it out, my walk and talk. But like, I think we all have had experiences in our life, not necessarily like spiritual or religious, but that we say, hey, this is real. This is 100% real. And you might not agree with it, but you can't convince me otherwise because I know for sure what I feel on my experience happened. And it's like if somebody, I don't know, I won't give an example, but
it's fine.
But
you can if you want.
I will try to make this as short and sweet as possible because this is a topic that I love to talk about. When I go to different events, I talk more about this than I do bodybuilding.
That's why I saved it for towards the end of the podcast.
Yes.
Because I already knew this.
I'm going to try very hard to not talk too long about it. But very briefly, I grew up in church and I'm thankful that my parents did. A Christian church that, so I always had the belief in Jesus, belief in God. I never fully surrendered my life to him. And so through high school, through college, I wanted to live my life. I wanted to take life into my hands and do my thing. I never felt like I was a bad person. I never felt like I had bad intentions. And I always believed, but I didn't live for him. I didn't surrender to him. So I always felt like God was going to use me big time in this world. I couldn't explain to you what it was. Obviously, I think now we know it's this platform. So in 2020, I was in a rough spot. I did not want to be here. If I did not have the fear of God or any sort of belief at all, I probably wouldn't be here right now, actually. So instead of doing something crazy, which I could never do something like that, I said, okay, God, you take control. If you don't want me bodybuilding and you want me to do something else with my life or whatever you have for my life, I give it to you because I quit. I give up. I throw in the towel. And that's when God was like, okay, now I can go to work in you. And I started praying more. I started like getting closer to other people, followers of Christ. And I just started feeling God working in my life. He started like opening doors that didn't make sense for me, and in a good way. And then when I did the 2021 prep, I became closer and closer every day. I was reading the Bible, I was listening to sermons, I was listening to worship music. I was just surrounding myself with anything like that was holy and Christian, whatever. And I 5 days out from the 2021 Olympia, against what was probably best for my physique at that time, I decided to go to church and get baptized. And I think even at the time, Hani was like you should be like going to the gym, going to Orlando, and like focusing on our prep. But I said, this is something I have to do. I have to go to church. I have to get baptized 5 days out from the 2021 Olympia. It just felt like that was the right time. God was telling me to fully surrender. And I remember that I just felt the Holy Spirit come on me. Like it was like, I am now fully surrendered my life to God, and He can live through me, through the Holy Spirit living through me. And my life is now radically changed. Not that I'm better than other people. No way. I'm challenged just like anyone else. I have selfish desires at times, but I always try to come back to this is for God. I'm not doing this. I can't do this for myself. I have to do this for a greater purpose than myself, right? But again, we all have these selfish worldly tendencies to want to do it for ourselves or whatever. And I don't think that having desires or goals for ourselves is a bad thing. But I think that keeping in mind that this is
A bigger picture.
yes. And so from that point on, my life changed. Who I was and who I wanted to be was to be more like Christ, right? To be more like Jesus and walk in his footsteps and his teachings and all of that. And yes, obviously I believe that, Christ is the Son of God, Messiah who came, died for us, rose again, and he is, you know, God and the Holy Spirit and
Amen.
Jesus,
Yep.
3 in 1, right? So that's what I believe. And I believe that's why people saw that 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 version of Derek
Oh, I see a change in you drastically.
to, wow, this guy's different. There's no way that he's fake. He's fake.
Yes.
He's fake. It's like, no, like the reason why you see such a drastic change is because the Holy
You
Spirit.
say things with conviction now.
Yes, man. And it's, again, I'm not a perfect person. Trust me. Even lately, I've been dealing with a lot of struggles and challenges in my life. And I'm like, I really got to get back into the word. I got to get back into the church. I got to be praying more. Like I feel just off. Not that I'm a bad person doing anything wrong. I just feel off. I feel like my thoughts, my talk, my walk is just a little bit off of where I want it to be, because I want people to see the change in me, and that I have fully surrendered to him, and because of that I have more peace in my life. I think we're all on pursuit of finding happiness in this world. When Christ says, come to me and I will give you not happiness, I will give you peace. And I think really we all want to find peace in our life. And when you have peace, then you can have happiness.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, oh wow, like I have experienced that. I felt it. I believe this is all so real. There was a time that I was it was before my pre-workout meal. I was taking a nap one time back in like 2021, and I woke up and I was crying, and I called my wife and I was like, get in here, Jelson, get in here. She goes, what? I go, it's real. And she's like, what? I go, God, Jesus, it's all real. Like, I just know, like, I know this is a moment I know for sure for the rest of my life. Like, this is real. He's real. It's not like a fake thing,
And I had a conversation with a friend today, and he said that he had a moment, and years ago to 2009, because I was talking to him about this topic, because I told him I was going to go in depth with you about it, and I was trying to, just have a conversation about it. And he goes, it's hard to not tell people when that happens, because you feel like you want to tell everybody, but then you get looked at different. He goes, so I look at Derek and I get it.
Yes, and a part of it too is that, like, I don't want people to get tripped up too much on you need to have a feeling to feel God is there and for you. No, there's times I feel like distant from God. I'm like, where are you? Like, I don't hear from you. Like, are you I don't want to say, are you working in my life?
It's almost like you're not answering any prayers.
I just don't, I'm not hearing you so closely, but it's okay. Cause I know deep down, he's always there. He's always working in our favor. So I don't want people to get tripped up. It's like, oh, you need to feel this to believe it. There's sometimes I don't feel anything, but I just believe. That's part of faith. Faith.
Yes.
If you didn't like a lot of this,
faith wouldn't exist without belief.
If you had all the answers, if it was right in front of your face, which I think it is a lot of times, then yeah, faith wouldn't be necessary. So it does require faith to have this. But man, we could talk about this so much more in depth. I would love to, maybe on another podcast, or even I don't care.
Oh, listen, I knew this was going to take up a chunk because I know your views and I know my views.
Yeah.
And I know Nick, just within the past 2 years have gotten more involved. And Chris, I never really asked your opinion. Like, let's on just religion in general. And I mean, we could say that religion brings people together as much as it separates it. Like, let's bring it full circle in bodybuilding. Like you obviously, like me. I don't talk about religion as much as Derek, but if you watch any of my posing, I never walk off stage without blessing myself. Something that I remember my father doing, stepping up to play baseball when I was a kid. He'd walk up to the home plate and he would get ready and get his bat, and the first thing he would do was step back and he'd walk up to the plate. And that's just something that got ingrained in me as everything I do, bodybuilding, sports, fishing, hunting, like he's there. That's kind of like my thing. And I don't do it. And I actually do it without even thinking about it half the time. If you watch any of my bodybuilding videos when I walk off stage at the end of a routine, the last thing before I do anything, I do the sign of the cross. In bodybuilding, do you find people that are God-fearing attack life differently, or I don't know if that makes sense. Do you see people that are more religious, more honed in on different things, better things, the way they handle life differently? Like, what, being a coach and somebody that is religious yourself and have kids, like, what is your viewpoint as far as like religion? Let's talk about it just in bodybuilding.
Was there a specific question?
Yeah. Do you think the people that are bodybuilders that seem to have more faith?
Well, I don't know how
That's why it's a hard question to ask, which is, I'm glad you said that.
Bodybuilders or anyone in general, usually my experience, if they are quote religious or if they believe in God, let's just throw the word religious out.
Sure.
God is usually relegated to people's lives as a relief pitcher. Like, the idea that people are connected to God, something unseen, for a lot of people in 2025 is more talk than action.
Yep.
And the relief pitching part comes when you get in a car accident. You don't say, oh, I got to call Guy for help.
Thank God.
You say, oh God, you look left and you look right and you're okay. Or the person in the passenger seat's with you, okay. And you say, oh God, or worse, you say it even louder when the person in the passenger seat is like
bleeding out.
Away. So I wouldn't distinguish between bodybuilders and just anyone else. But what I can tell you is that the amount of distractions that people have now compared to 40 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, the amount of distractions you have in your daily life, it's easy to just relegate God to not a relief pitcher, but like out of the picture.
Yeah, you could just drop them down on the totem pole.
And so a lot of times there are silver linings to terrible events, where you do get in a car accident, and those become life-changing events because usually it takes a life-changing event to wake up a person to say, like, I should get myself together.
Well, fear is the most motivating factor for most people when they fear something.
Well, true, because they, human nature, you're programmed to, there's fear and there's the opposite of fear, which is like excitement.
Yep.
Or or entertainment, or, having a good time. So all those things like having a good time lead you away from fear, or they lead you away from having any cognizant
Connect.
idea of the existence of God or what your responsibilities as a person is on a daily basis. So,
Especially with social media, and social media makes it easy to be distracted, and then it also makes it easier, which is why I brought up to Derek, to get chastised for being vocal about something. Because back in the, nobody, if you were vocal 50 years ago about your religion, you might get somebody say so, but now if you post it online, you put yourself out there, now you're getting fingers pointed at you, like, how dare you talk about that, or why do you talk about that? And then obviously there's people that praise you, but you get the negatives too. So you get it from every angle now.
well,
And I've said this too. Like I said, I understand that there's people that don't believe in anything, whatever. But here, like I've said this before to someone that was a very outspoken atheist, and I said, I respect you, love you, brother. But if you're right at the end of life and everything, we end up at the same place. It really doesn't matter that you were right and I was wrong. But if I'm right and you're wrong, we don't necessarily, we may not end up in the same place. And I love you too much
For you to take
to
the Southern Highway.
to not at least share Jesus with you.
Yeah.
And like I and a lot of it is just simply loving others, and that's very hard to do.
Yes.
Because we like ultimately, like, we're programmed to love ourselves the most. When you're a baby, you're as selfish as it gets. We almost have to rewire our brain through life to not be selfish and to
Yeah.
love others. So it's like there would have been a time, let's say 2018, 2019, that it was me against the world. I'm here to line them up and I'm gonna slay them all. Now it's like I'll hit up Nick. I'm like, hey man, you doing all right, bro? I'm just thinking about you. I'm praying for you. You doing good? Love you, man. I hope you're doing well, And I'm not saying I do that all the time, but there's been times that I felt convicted to do that. So
Yeah.
I see the world differently. I don't see that it's like a flesh and blood like battle. Like, it's not me versus Nick. Yeah, we want to win. We are both passionate about the same thing. We'll both want to be Mr. Olympia. We're both competitive in the sport of bodybuilding. But as the world, life in general, I look at it as it's all spiritual.
I think that's great that you got to that point. Nick, for you, how has religion changed your life? I mean, changed your life, or maybe if you don't want to talk about how it changed, how you just got re-involved in it at all? Because I remember years ago.
I feel like it's kind of like you. I don't think it necessarily has changed my life, at least not yet. Obviously I grew up with it and I just took a big step away from it for majority of my life. And I just decided to just kind of slowly, but ease my way back into it. So, I go every Sunday and I just try to be in the moment and not like worry about everything else for the rest of the day and just try and embrace it and just let it run its course. And as far as like, I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's changed my life yet, but like, I just feel like I have a lot more positive energy from it. When I leave, I do feel happier. I feel a little relieved. And those are feelings like that I want in my life. Like, I feel like for me, especially this year, this is a year of like my own redemption, but a year of, I just want peace in my life, period. And anything that I feel that gives me peace, I'm just going to allow myself to go in that direction, and wherever it takes me, takes me.
Yeah. It saddens me because I know people will watch this and get to this point. Some people will turn up the volume. Some people will turn it down. Some people will turn it off.
Yeah.
And that's sad because you don't have to. This is what I say to everybody when it comes to religion or anything, or beliefs, Chris, or whatever it is. I go, you don't have to believe what I believe, but I encourage you to try to believe in something, because if you live your life thinking that this is all that it was meant to be with the beings that we are as people, and you think that when the final second ticks away, that what you did is all you did and that's it and there's nothing else, it's a pretty shitty way to live. And I feel bad for people that think like that, because Derek, people have a perception of you, and Chris can back me up when I say it, because Chris will tell you, I I love people more than I love myself. And I think one of the things that I will hang my hat on, and I'll say it to Nick, and Nick knows it too, and I've said it to, I'll say it to everybody, there's not a better friend than me. And I make sure to hold my hat on that, being that I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. The only thing that I have in my life are, I don't look at the accolades in bodybuilding as a big thing. I didn't win an Olympia. I didn't win an Arnold. I wasn't a great bodybuilder. I was who I was because I busted my fucking ass and I just tried. And Chris will tell you, I tried to train harder than anybody. But one saying that I remember somebody telling me is that there's going to come a point in all our lives where somebody talks about us for the last time. That one-liner fucking scared the shit out of me. And I always told myself that I want to make sure that my name is spoken for as long as it can be spoken for because of things that I did to change people's lives and help them. So I will, if you're in my circle, and Chris, Nick, Derek, to you and to Nick, I make sure that those people that I consider, even if it's not a best friend, a friend, that I am there 101%, 100% of the time.
There's been quite a few times that you called me out of nowhere, and just whether it be checking up on me or whether it be about a serious matter that you didn't have to, bro. And I never expected you to do that, but you did. I don't want to say what those times were publicly, but
Yeah.
I was like, I would tell my wife, wow, guy called me and talked to me about, these things. He didn't have to do that,
Yeah.
I mean, Chris and Nick, these two that are here on the podcast, these two guys are two of the very few guys that will text me, hey, bro, just checking on you.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen. Nick and Chris are probably two. Me and Chris played phone tag, I think, for the past 48 hours. How many times we call each other?
Yeah, a lot. And when you finally got back in touch with me, what were you calling about? I said, just seeing how you doing.
Yeah.
We did.
And Nick will text me like every other day, hey, bro, how are you doing? Checking in on you. Or if Nick will know if I'm like in a shitty mood, he'll ask me a question and I turn around and be like, yeah, dude, what's going on? Everything go with you? And I'll be like, how are you? And he'll like text me like capital. Like,
Yeah.
don't skip what I'm asking you. Like,
I know when guys
okay?
bullshit,
I will wrap it with this. We don't hold on. Someone's trying to come. Just trying to block this. Guy, the most interesting thing about bodybuilding when you're in it for a long period of time is, and you get into it. Everyone gets into it for a different reason.
Yes.
But you will leave it. Some people like Coleman leaves it with how many Olympias, or Phil or Jay, and they got the Olympias too. But they will tell you too. What will last is your friendships that you got out of the sport.
Yeah.
That's what you will leave with, the friendships. And that's not what you came in for. I didn't go building to like make bodybuilding friends, but that's ironically, what I accumulated over the years. And
I mean, Chris, if somebody asked me, I'm going to let you answer this. Guy, you lose all your bodybuilding titles, or you keep them, like you keep all your bodybuilding titles, but you're not friends with Chris Aceto, or you and Aceto are just as close as you are now, but you have no bodybuilding titles. Which one would I pick?
Oh, Guy, you know what? My son is down there training with Matt and Derek. And I said, it was just a rush last minute trip, because Matt's been at him, come down. And then, the Derek thing. And so Derek might have mentioned, about Free coming down. And so, when they're both mentioning it, I said, you know what, you want to go down? He said, yeah, I'll go down. And he went down. I said, oh my God, I forgot about Kamal. Kamal lives in Tampa. And I told Fareed, you have to go see Kamal because, and this is what I told him, Guy, this is a testament to you and to Kamal. I said, if you are at the University of Vermont and you are in a car accident and you can't get in touch with me, Mom, and you had Guy's number and you said, this is Fareed, I'm in a car accident, this is my GPS, location. And if you couldn't get in touch with Guy, you called Kamal. They would get in their car and go to that GPS location. Those
100%.
are friends. There's not lots of them, and that's not saying you're better. You're a better person than someone else, or Kamal's a better person. You just happen to be my circle, and I've known you for years, both of you, and we've gone through a lot together. Ups and downs, and I consider you guys both like very, very, very close friends.
Oh my gosh.
And that's why I stay around, bodybuilding is, I enjoy the connection I get to make with people.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's a journey always. And in, let's say, going back full circle, so to speak, to the conversation about God is my son knows me. I can't be around people who are absent of.
Yeah.
Absent of. And you know what? You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to wear.
But you can't do this to nothing.
Yeah, you don't have to preach it, right? Because sometimes people who preach it, right, that's what turns people up.
And I think that's
You end up being, you're a hypocrite.
Yep.
Right. And human nature wants to criticize a hypocrite.
Yep.
Of course, everyone's a hypocrite to some degree, right? We always say, do that. We give the best advice, but do we do the stuff ourselves? Not all.
No.
Hell no.
So, it's a conversation that I like to, and I like to be around people who are in tune with their creator and not absent from, because there's a connection there. And
Like almost like an unspoken one.
yeah, or outside the idea of a connection, if then you tend to push the envelope with everything. And I have seen bodybuilders, push party envelopes, and I mean, Guy, you've seen it all.
Oh, yeah, I've absolutely.
You've people say, what happened to so and so? He said, oh, he got involved in this, he got involved in that, and got involved in this. And
So that's and Chris, I'm glad you said that, because
what ultimately it is it's an indulgence in pleasure.
Yes.
Pleasure is not happiness, and pleasure is not peace. It's an illusion of.
Yes.
And that's where people get into all types of recreational drugs, because it's fun. It has to be fun.
Yep.
And it's the first but fun is not, going back to Derek's point, peace.
Yes.
There's nothing other than waking up in a state of peace, or going to bed in a state of peace, because the opposite of peace is turmoil.
Chaos.
Chaos, baby.
You can't even make one clear decision to benefit yourself ever. It's all chaotic nonsense.
Between finding that peace and feeling the conviction that God was telling me you need to go and speak the name of Jesus and tell everybody your testimony, I was fully aware that there would be a lot of backlash. There would be a lot of people saying negative things. But I was like, you know what? If people say this all the time, but I really mean it. If there was one person's life and eternity that I could change through me speaking, it's worth it. Yeah. It's worth all the backlash. And that's why I said after the Olympia, whenever I took third doing that interview, I literally got walked off the stage to the interview. I said, if there's anything that is taking me away from God, I don't want it. Yeah. And that's why I said I'm willing to take that risk of people thinking, oh, he's fake, or we don't like this guy, or whatever the negative outlook is towards me and my beliefs. It's worth it to me if there's hopefully a majority of people that are turning themselves to God. I'm willing to take that risk. And that's my mission.
I didn't tell you Chris was coming on for a reason, and I told Nick that I wasn't telling you that Chris was coming on for a reason, because I wanted it to be organic and natural. And I didn't tell Chris the questions I was going to ask, and I didn't obviously talk to you. And the reason why we'll wrap up, but I wanted to say this was when I knew you were definitely coming on, and then today, especially when I saw that you joined forces with Chris, I thought very long and hard because I know the struggles you've gone through with the perception of persona and people thinking it was a facade. And I'm not a great podcast host. I don't think I'm fucking great at anything. I just like to do a lot of shit and pretend like I'm good at some of it. My goal was I really wanted the people to understand who you were, and your words do come with conviction, not just empty, thoughtless word salads that people might think. And, you know, like Chris said it, the one thing that we hate is somebody that is overzealous and over the top with God, because you're like, get away from me, because a lot of the times it's bullshit. But then there are people that, you know, have like completely engulfed and accepted God for who he is, and they want to let everybody know. And regardless of people want to believe you, listen to you or not, my goal today with this podcast was for people to understand that Derek is an honest, loyal, God-fearing man, and what he says is truly what he believes, and it's not just a facade that he's putting on. Because if it was a facade he was putting on to get people to like him, well, not even that, you wouldn't be doing the facade of spreading the word or talking about God, because that's not a hip facade to have. So you wouldn't be gaining traction or popularity by being that. So for, you know, I'm glad we had this topic, and, you know, it makes me happy to hear, you know, Nick talk about it, Chris talk about it, because it's a topic that everybody's fucking afraid to talk about. And nobody, you know, not that I should be cursing when I talk about this, but, you know, this is something that people should not be afraid to talk about. We talk about everything else, and Chris even said it. People highlight partying and highlight good times and fun times and drinking and this, and it's like, oh, you're highlighting something you believe? How dare you? What are you, nuts? And it's like, I'm glad that, you know, we talked as long as we did about this, because I wanted to make it positive, and I really did, and I do think that people that watch us now are going to have a different view of who you truly are. And that was what, like, when we were texting last week, I said, I want people to really know who the fuck Derek is, because I don't think they do.
Well, I appreciate that, but more than anything for me, man, I actually do hope that people actually give God a chance from this podcast. That's the number one thing for me. If people can change their outlook on me that had a negative one, that's great. That's much appreciated. But really, that mission is to bring more people to God. And so, and I'm going to be honest with you, man, there's a lot of times that, you know, I get attacked by the enemy because he's whispering in my ear saying, oh, who are you to speak on God? And, you know that you're like Chris said, like you're a hypocrite. That's like, like, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should just tone it back, because like, I'm not always a perfect person. But that's the thing. God didn't use perfect people. Everyone in the Bible, right, outside of Jesus, had something going on in their life. They weren't perfect. Far from it, usually.
She wasn't perfect.
So I always think to myself, so that same whisper in one ear that's like, oh, who are you talking about God? On the other voice is telling me, if it's not you, then who's going to talk about it?
Oh, I just got chills. You know who used to say that?
So it's like, all right, well, I guess it's me then.
Chris, who used to hashtag, if not you, then me. Or if not you, then who? Yeah. All the time.
Wow.
Yep. If you go back on Sean's post, he would hashtag, if not you, then who? If not me, or if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? It's pretty wild. Well, we'll end on that, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's a great podcast, and honestly, I like this quad. Well, I don't even know what to call it. There's four of us.
Yo, let's do it again, man.
I think we got to do a part 2 of this next week, because this was.
You can get me and Nick going at it a little bit more next time.
You are horrible at shit talking, bro.
Bro, come at me, bro.
No, hold on.
My point proven. You're horrible.
Hold on. Chris wants to say something funny, because I say he doesn't raise his hand. He
did have a chance to review the side tricep and the side chest. One more time, I put on my reading glasses.
Is that what you were doing?
And I go with Derek. I'm just
Let's go.
Let's go.
He said, I'm just kidding.
Until next time, we'll find out.
Guys, this was an awesome podcast. We're definitely going to do a part 2 next week.
Right.
So we got 2 Mals and 2 Mutants here. We'll call this part 1 of the we'll call this the coming to Christ moment.
There you go.
Podcast. So y'all be good. Stay safe. Mutant. Well, I got 2 mutants and 2 mouths. We're going to give you guys part 2. Got myself. We have the man himself, the real technician, Chris Aceto, the mutant, Nick Walker, and the people's champ, Derek Lunsford, 2023 Mr. Olympia. We will be coming at you guys again next week for part 2. Hope you enjoyed part 1, and I'm going to make sure to get Derek and Nick a little more fired up and get those buttholes puckered next week, and we'll get a little shit talking. So until next time, everybody, mutant and the mouth, we're out.
Later.